All right, we are continuing to find volume of spheres. So let's practice using our formula some more. So we have a sphere here. The formula for the volume of it is 4/3 pi times a radius cubed. Now, again, we need radius. So if the diameter, the distance all the way across is 13, then the distance from the center out, the radius, is half of 13. So you just grab your calculator and either times it by a half or divide by 2, and we know that our radius has to be 6.5. So that's what we're plugging in for r. So we have 4/3 times pi times 6.5 to the third. Now, come back up here and notice that the directions say to leave your solution in terms of pi. Basically, an exact answer. Because as you've heard me say multiple times, as soon as you multiply by pi, you're approximating it. So what that means is when we use our calculator, you are multiplying everything but pi. Okay, so since it's multiplying, we can do it in any order. 6.5 raised to the third, and then I'm going to multiply that by 4/3, 4 divided by 3. Okay, and I am going to get 366.1666666 repeating. Okay, so it's really, I'm not going to write it as an approximate sign because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to write 366.16 repeating. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply that by pi, and that is cubic units. Okay, so we're leaving pi in our answers here. Let's look at this next one. Our formula again is 4/3 pi times our radius cubed. If we plug in the values, we have our radius, 12 right here. So times pi times 12 to the third. Grab the calculator again. I'm going to come this way with that so you can see. And that's a 2 there, sorry. 2 to the third. Wow, that is really bad. There, maybe we can read it. All right, so then I am going to go 12 raised to the third times 4 divided by 3. And we get 2,304. So this is a nice even one. 2,304 times pi, because remember we just multiplied these two together, and cubic units. One more. Our formula. Hey, guess what? It's still 4/3 times pi times our radius cubed. Our radius, double checking to make sure it's our radius, is 9.3. So it's 4/3 times pi times 9.3 to the third. All right, let's go this way. Maybe 4 divided by 3 times 9.3 raised to the third. Okay, and so I'm going to get 1,072.476 pi cubic units. Okay, all right, so that is just practicing our formula like we did in the first video, but we're leaving our answer in terms of pi, so it's an exact answer. So let's change it up a little bit and see what they're asking for in these questions. Directions say to use the formula for volume of spheres to help you answer each of the questions below. A hemisphere has a radius of 7 inches. Find the volume of the hemisphere. So our volume is still 4/3 times pi times our radius cubed. Now I'm going to solve it like this. Seven cubed, okay? And then I'm going to worry about being a hemisphere. So 4 divided by 3 times pi times 7 raised to the third equals 1,436 755, okay? But since it's a hemisphere, we're going to divide that by 2. Hemisphere, remember, is half a sphere. And we're going to get this is about 718 4 cubic units. When you write units cubed, we say cubic units. With these problems, it's really important, well, with any of the problems, to start with your formula. A sphere has a volume of 288 pi cubic inches. Find the radius of the sphere. So write your formula down. You've heard me say it. The more you write down, the easier the problem is, right? So the volume is this. So I'm going to replace V with 288 pi. Okay. All right. So now, first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this in pieces. You don't have to do it in pieces, but I'm going to do it in pieces. I'm going to divide a pi out. Then I don't have to stress about that pi being there because pi divided by pi, even though it's an irrational number, is 1. So I have 288 equals 4/3 times r cubed. Now, remember, we can divide both sides by 4/3, but dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. See? All 1. So we just have to multiply this side then by 4/3. Okay? And I'm left with, I'm going to change the order around here because I like my r on the left side. R cubed equals 4/3 times 288. So I'm actually just going to go 4 times 288 divided by 3. 384. Okay, now how do we undo this cube here? We take the cube root. Now calculators all do it differently. I don't even know if this calculator has it. It does not. Okay, so I don't think. No. Nope. I don't think I'm missing it. I am kind of right here, but I don't want to confuse you more. So anyway, basically just pretend you're taking a cube root on your calculator. You know, you hit the 3, hit the cube root, and then type in 384. When you do that, you get 6 because 6 times 6 times 6 is only 216. Oops. So I totally see my mistake. Did you guys catch it? I wish I could say I did it on purpose. See right here? What I do. I multiplied this side by 3/4 and this side by 4/3. Oops. Let's fix that. And then maybe we'll get an answer that actually makes sense. So now I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to go 3 times 288 divided by 4. And I get 216. And guess what happens now that the answer is, I know the answer is 6. When you go 6 times 6 times 6, you get 216. Okay? Honest mistake. It happens to all of us. Don't stress if it does. Learn from it. Okay? But that is just 6 units because it wants to know what the radius is. Okay. A sphere has a volume of 972. It's going to haunt me, this problem, right? Find the radius of the sphere. So again, start out with our formula. Plug in this for this. And again, I am going to continue getting rid of that pi. Right? Don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, when I go to get rid of 4/3 and dividing by 4/3 is the same thing as multiplying by 3/4, I'm actually going to multiply this side by 3/4. That gives us 1. And I'm left with r cubed equals 3 times 972 and dividing that by 4. And that's 729. And if you take the cube root, again, type of 3, then you're now square root, the one above it, the cube root button, second cube root, and type that in, you'll get 9 inches. Okay, and actually this one might have been inches here too. I'm just going to totally mess up that problem, right? Might as well do it all at once. All right, let's move on. A cylinder, a cone, a sphere all have a radius of 3 feet and a height of 6 feet. Find the volume of each and record it in the table. Cylinder, pi times the radius squared times the height. Cone, 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height. Sphere, 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay. All right, so we have to figure these out real quick. Radius of 3, height of 6. Okay, so this is just going to be pi times the radius of 3 squared times the height, which is 6. For the sake of time, I'll just tell you that that is 169.56 cubic units, but that's all right. For this one here, we're going to go 1/3 times pi times 3 for r here squared times our height of 6. And for the sake of time, I will tell you that's 56.52. And our sphere here is 4/3 times pi times 3 to the third. And that works out to be 113.04 cubic units. So what is the ratio of the volume of the sphere to the cylinder? Okay, so that just means we're going to take the sphere of 113.04 divided by the cylinder, which is 169.56. And that works out, believe it or not, to be 2/3. Just trust me, okay? How does the volume of the sphere compare to the cone? Well, the sphere here and the cone, look at it. If you doubled 56, you'd have 113. So we're going to say the sphere is twice the volume of the cone. And list them in order from greatest to least. We'll look at these 3 numbers. Kind of looks like the cylinder is the greatest. I don't know if it's the greatest, but it's the biggest. Then the sphere. Then the cone. Okay, so all of these formulas, okay, make sure you have them written down so you can keep them straight. But if you use your formula, you'll be able to find the volume of any of these figures.